Hi, my name is Charles, and today on my channel, I'm going to be talking about what I think are the top 10 best movies of this year, 2022. I didn't really, make a lot of movie reviews this year because I was in a funk and also I was busy. So if you followed me on Letterboxd, you would know I watched a lot of movies this year still, a lot of new movies from this year, and also a lot of old movies that were new to me and a lot of, rewatches. But yeah, there were a lot of good movies this year, but at the same time, I wasn't really gravitating to a lot of them, so this list is more or less like, I don't know, kind of mainstream, but a little bit not. Probably a little bit not, but it's whatever your thoughts on what mainstream is. So we'll see how people feel about what I think of the top 10 movies of this year. Before I start my whole top 10 movies list, I just want to give quick shout outs to movies like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero movie, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Turning Red, Belle, spoiler alert, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, Confess Fletch, and Tar. All those movies were great movies and they really made me feel something, but they just weren't great enough to make this list. There are other movies this year that I thought were great too that didn't make the list, but I didn't feel like mentioning. But yeah, those movies I mentioned, I thought they were all great. And yeah, I just wanted to give them a little love before I moved into the top 10 movies that I thought were really great this year. Remember, this is my opinion, so don't get so nitpicky if you don't like what I chose or if you don't like where I put certain movies. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so at number 10, I have The Banshees of Inisherin from Martin McDonagh, starring Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, Carrie Condon, and Barry Keoghan. I almost forgot his name. I was like, can't remember, but it's Barry Keoghan. Those four are the main actors of the movie. And wow, The Banshees of Inisherin. Thoughts on that? I have thoughts on that. Would I say The Banshees of Inisherin is the strongest movie from Martin McDonagh? I would say no. I still, even though it's kind of controversial to say, I still think that Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri is a little bit more like interesting to watch. But nonetheless, The Banshees of Inisherin I thought was really well made. The dialogue in that movie is very sharp, but then again, that's nothing new with the Martin McDonagh, screenplay and dialogue. Apparently, it's the front runner versus Everything Everywhere All at Once to win Best Original Screenplay, and I don't know, that's a hard thing because I really like the entire story of Everything Everywhere All at Once, but the dialogue in The Banshees of Inisherin is way, way more stronger. So I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I'm kind of just rooting for both of them at this point. All four main principal actors in this movie all give great performances. People talked about how Brendan Gleeson was like the best supporting actor in this movie, but when I watched the movie, I was like, I would give that to Barry Keoghan because he just had, in my opinion, a lot more that he was doing versus Brendan Gleeson, who was just playing this grumpy character. And it's fine and all, but I think Barry had a lot more depth with his performance and his character, so that's why I put him in front of Brendan. But when it comes to Colin, I'm just like, I really do think he's going to win that Oscar this year. Not this year. I mean, the Oscar for this year, but when next year comes around, the Oscar ceremony, I do believe it's going to be Colin Farrell who snatches that Oscar, not Brendan Fraser or even Austin Butler. I just feel like it's Colin's time. He's done a lot of great work. He's been ignored for too long. And also, he had a great year this year with not only The Banshees of Inisherin, but with After Yang, The Batman, and there's one other movie. Is it 13 Lives? Yeah, those four. I didn't watch that movie, but apparently it was solid enough. But yeah, he had four great movies this year. And yeah, I just think it's going to be one of those. It's his time. It's a year for him, and it's a great performance because his performance in The Banshees of Inisherin is just fantastic. I really was feeling his character, and I really loved his performance and what he was doing in the movie. I know The Banshees of Inisherin isn't for everyone. I tried making my parents watch it, and they were like, I'm bored. So I can understand. I can understand. If you're not into the movie, you're not going to really like it. And once again, I really like this movie, but it's not my favorite Martin McDonagh movie. But yeah, I just enjoyed it when I saw it in the theaters. I still need to rewatch it on HBO Max, but I really just think this is a lovely movie. It's just very sweet in a way, but also melancholy. I don't know. It's a really good mix. It's a really good mix. That's why I'm like, I had to have it on my list. I just had to have it on my list, which is why it's at number 10 because it's great, but not as good as the other movies up ahead. Okay, at number 9, I have Barbarian, directed by Zach Cregger, starring Georgina Campbell, Bill Skarsgård, and Justin Long. And I gotta say, I went into this movie not knowing anything. I didn't watch any of the trailers. I just heard that the reviews were good, and when the week it came out, it had a really high Rotten Tomato score and it was certified fresh. I was like, okay, It looks like this is going to be one of those movies that you just jump into blind and see how it goes. And my God, I was so scared for the first half of this movie. It really had me shaken. And at one point in the middle, my legs shot out into the air. I was like, this is too much. You know, horror movies don't always turn out good because I feel like a lot of horror movies that are out these days are just part of a franchise, or they're new, but they're just really recycled thoughts and things from other horror movies. But with this movie, I was like, I don't think I've really seen anything like it. And not only was it scary, but it had a tonal shift in the second half to make it more funny. So I just found it was very inventive with what it was trying to do, and it still scared me like no other movie this year scared me. So I was like, we got to put this on the list because I love me a good horror movie. You know, I forgot to say at the very start when I was giving shout outs, I forgot about X and Pearl. X and Pearl were both fantastic horror movies, but you know, as I said, Barbarian, it just had something really, really new up its sleeve. And also, I thought the dialogue and the story in general in that movie was, I don't know, just funnier and more sharp. So, once again, I've got to say that I loved X and Pearl, love those movies. Great movies, can't wait to see Maxine. But yeah, when it comes to the best horror movie of this year, I would have to say it is Barbarian because, once again, a lot of twists and turns, shocks, goops and gags made me feel like scared in the theaters. And also, it was just funny in a way I didn't think it was going to be funny. So I was just like, gotta put it on my list, gotta put it on my list because it was serving, Your Honor. It was serving. Okay, at number 8 on my list, I have Note from Jordan Peele, starring Daniel Kaluuya, Kiki Palmer, Steven Yeun, and Brandon Pereira. Is that how you say his last name? I'm sorry to my half Filipino, half Cuban brother. It's like, don't know how to say your last name, baby. But, you know, it's whatever for now. But anyway, Nope. I thought this was going to be a horror movie, but after watching it, I was like, there are horror elements, but I wouldn't really say this is a horror movie. Overall, I would say Nope is more of a thriller. It seems like it's Jordan Peele's most, I don't know, mainstream movie, his most blockbuster-y movie. It just was more exciting and entertaining than it was scary, which is why I said Barbarian was like the scariest movie for me this year. But when it comes to Nope, I just thought Nope was very well constructed in terms of like, you know, the filmmaking of it all when it came to like the directing and, you know, the cinematography and the visual effects and all that. But I can see why some people just weren't into it. I guess when you follow, you know, both Get Out and Us, people wanted something, you know, scary. And as I said, this movie was not scary. And I guess people just were not liking that they were sold like a super scary alien movie when it was more just a like fun, exciting, like blockbuster actiony thriller movie. You know, Kiki Palmer followed me on Twitter and I was like, wow, because it was the night before me and my cousins were gonna go watch Nope, and I was tweeting, I was like, yeah, the real ones have been with Kiki Palmer since the start. I love Kiki Palmer. Like, y'all who are just jumping onto the bandwagon now are fakes or something like that. I was just like ranting about how I love Kiki Palmer. And then when I was like eating my dinner, I saw that I got a notification on Twitter and I was like, I've turned off notifications on Twitter. And then I looked and I was like, is this actually Kiki Palmer following me? I remember when I saw that, I like jumped out of my seat where I was sitting on my couch and I was like, whoa. And then I just had to verify it and I was like, yeah, this is Kiki Palmer. I was like, I'm gagged, I'm gagged, I'm gagged. I was like, true Jackson VP herself is following me. Crazy. But yeah, whew, love Kiki Palmer. Love Kiki Palmer in general. But yeah, her in the movie, she was the best person in the movie in my opinion. Daniel Kaluuya is giving more of a stone, like cold vibe. He's playing the stoic character, and it's like you can only go so far with that. And Steven Yeun's barely in the movie, and Brandon, he's good, but he doesn't get as much to do as Kiki, which is why I'm like, in my opinion, Kiki is the real star of Nope. The scariest part in this movie was when that alien sucks Steven Yeun and all the people at his park into itself, and then we saw them sliding through its digestive system. That was so terrifying, disgusting, and scary to watch. That's like the moment in the movie that sticks out to me. That and when Kiki Palmer's on her motorcycle at the end and she's like, come on! And she doesn't know if her brother's made it, and then she has to ride the motorcycle, and then she does the whole Akira slide. Those two moments really stuck out to me in the movie because not only were they interesting moments to watch, but I just think they were executed so well visually. So yeah, that's why when I think of Nope, those are the two moments that I will always think about. I can't wait to see what Jordan Peele does next, but it's probably going to be another 2 or 3 years before he does something new. I know Nope didn't make as much money as Get Out or Us did, but hopefully whatever studio, hopefully I think it's still going to be Universal. I hope they give him a lot of money still because I think he is one of the best filmmakers working today that's new. So I'm just like, hey, a lot of things are flopping at the box office these days, so let's just keep it rolling. At number 7, I have Avatar: The Way of the Water, directed by James Cameron, starring Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Sigourney Weaver, Kate Winslet, and a bunch of other people in this movie, but they're all mostly blue. I mean, Jermaine Clement is in the movie and he's not blue, but Edie Falco, you get the gist, you get the gist. This cast is long, but those people I named at the start are like more or less the main people. I mean, I don't remember the villain's name, but I'm not gonna look it up. But anyway, like Avatar: The Way of the Water. This was originally lower on my list, but I just rewatched the movie last night and I thought to myself, I think this is better than I give it credit for, because before initially I was like, the story's pretty weak, and don't get me wrong, the story is pretty weak still. Like the first movie, they're basic, they're recycled plots, but you can get away with recycling elements from other movies into your own new movie if it's done really well and it rings true. And I don't know, maybe I was tired because I had work and then I went to go watch this movie with my family, but I just really felt like the story worked a lot more around this second viewing. I mean, my God, when the third act happened, I was just crying tears. Like there were tears streaming down my face for a majority of it. And my mind was like, I don't know. Like the first time I watched this, I was not crying like this. I think I only cried like once, like a single tear. But watching this again, I was like crying so much. And maybe it's because I knew what was going to happen. And when the moment finally came, it really hit me harder the second time around. Or I don't know, maybe it's because I was tired because I had work that day, and then it was like I went to go watch Avatar with my family right after work. So maybe I was tired and all the emotions were getting to me because I was so tired. But either way, I just felt like the characters really worked and the story really worked this time around. Avatar's already made $1 billion as of my recording today, and some people thought it was like done when it didn't make like $1 billion or whatever on its first 3 days, and people were like, haha, it's failed. But I'm like, I feel like people are just gonna watch this like in the best format, and a lot of those like IMAX screenings and Dolby screenings were sold out, so I feel like people were waiting. And also it was like the Christmas time where it was about to be Christmas, and I just feel like when we're in this weird period right now of between Christmas and New Year's, and even after New Year's, people are gonna watch Avatar because there's not much to watch and everyone's boasting about Avatar, so that's why it's collecting money, and it's already reached $1 billion so fast. So it probably will be the highest grossing movie of 2022 by the time Avatar 2 is done like playing in theaters. So for all those haters, I just gotta say, y'all failed. Y'all failed. Okay, at number 6 on my list, I have After Yang. I'm not gonna even try to pronounce the director's name because I know I'm gonna screw it up, but it stars Colin Farrell, Jodie Turner-Smith, Justin Min, Haley Lou Richardson, and Sarita Choudhury. I don't know if I don't not know. I know I screwed up her last name, but yeah, those are all the people in this movie. After Yang is another movie starring Colin Farrell this year that made my list. I was very sad when this didn't really get a theatrical release when it was supposed to come out. It came out the same day as The Batman, which also has Colin Farrell in it. Once again, Colin Farrell having a year this year. But I was very excited, more so for After Yang than The Batman. I think The Batman's a fine movie, but I just think After Yang is a very exquisitely made movie. A movie about loss. Oof, it really got me in my feelings. I really got into my feelings watching the movie. And I just gotta say, if you're not on board with the movie after just the first, like, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes where they do the opening, where they do that dance competition at the start, then I don't know what you guys are doing, because I don't see much movies these days that have a really compelling opening like After Yang does. And that opening was just so hypnotic that I was like, okay, I think I'm ready for the rest of the movie. And as the movie played out, I was like, this is such a beautiful movie. It's so moving and all the actors are doing a splendid job. I know a lot of people aren't into watching movies about loss and grief, but I just thought those themes, and like also about humanity, those themes were tackled so well in this movie. And that if you haven't seen After Yang, go watch it. I think it's on Showtime, but you should just check it out because It's a pretty short movie, and also I just think it's so beautifully made. Everyone, as I said, does a great job, but Colin Farrell in particular just does an amazing job. It's excellent work, and I really hope with the work he did in both After Yang, The Batman, and 13 Lives, those all boost his chances to win for the Banshees of Inisherin, because I just think that Colin is very deserving of an Oscar, and I think the Banshees of Inisherin, while not his best performance of all the movies he's ever done, is like the best chance he has at this point. Okay, at number 5 on my list, I have Glass Onion, directed by Rian Johnson, starring Daniel Craig, Janelle Monáe, Catherine Hahn, Kate Winslet, Leslie Odom Jr., Dave Bautista, and some other people, but those are the main 6 people in the cast of the movie. And this is a sequel to the movie Knives Out, and I gotta say, I was very much entertained with Glass Onion. When it came to this movie, I just vibed with it a lot more on the story level, location level, and character level than I did with the original Knives Out movie. Don't get me wrong, I like the characters in that movie, but with its location, I just felt like it was saying we're on a budget, which is why we're all shooting this in like one house basically. But for this movie, I was like, oh, we have a budget this time. But that's mainly probably because Netflix bought it, and I kind of really don't like that Netflix bought the, series or franchise that is now becoming like this murder mystery with Daniel Craig's Benoit Blanc, because I watched it in theaters on the week of Thanksgiving when they put it in theaters, and I thought it was amazing. The theater I saw it was like super packed and everyone was having a good time. But then it went into hiding for a month and then came back on Netflix, and I rewatched the movie and I was like, it still is good, but I couldn't stop myself from like looking at my phone at certain times while watching the movie. And I was like, this is the problem when you're watching a movie at home versus in a theater, because in a theater you're usually not gonna look at your phone, but at home you're just gonna like look at your phone when you're kind of bored. And I don't know, maybe it's because I already watched the movie, but there were points where I was just on my phone and not really paying attention, and I was like, I'm kind of ashamed of myself. But also there's a lot of weird discourse with the movie that's going on, and I'm just like, I really hate people when there's like discourse over a movie that's so like not really having teeth. This movie does not have teeth. Like, it has like a message about like the rich, especially like billionaires and like tech billionaires and the people that surround them, and how they siphon power from them to make themselves powerful. But I'm like, it really was just putting it out there but not really doing anything with that like message. They were just like, this happens, and yeah, and now people are like angry, and then they're like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, this movie's just a nice little murder mystery movie and just saying like a simple message. So I don't know why y'all acting up when it's not really that, like, in my opinion, like discussion worthy. It's like, damn people, can't y'all just enjoy a movie sometimes? Can't y'all just enjoy a movie? Because this movie has such like fun characters, even though the majority of them are like, bad people. Like, I would only say probably Daniel Craig's Benoit Blanc and Janelle Monáe's character. Like, they're the only good people in this movie. Everyone else is like trash. But then again, that kind of was the case with the first Knives Out movie, where it was like Daniel Craig's character and then Ana de Armas's character. And then, like, I guess you can count the police, but they were not really in the movie, like Keith Stanfield and the other guy. But like, maybe the maid, but yeah, like the other supporting characters were all trash in that movie too. So I guess, that's kind of the concept of these murder mystery movies, that like, the majority of the people are bad, which is why they're suspects. But yeah, either way, I'm just like, this was a fun movie, and I just thought it was really well made, and I can't wait for the next movie to come out. I hate Netflix for owning it, but hopefully they at least put it in theaters for another week, like when they release it, like just like let me see in theaters. I just don't want to watch at home, because that really derided from my experience, in my opinion. Okay, at number 4 on my list, I have The Northman, directed by Robert Eggers, starring Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, Anya Taylor-Joy, Clay Spang, Ethan Hawke, and Willem Dafoe. And this movie was one that I was very excited for, because I'm a big fan of Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse. The Witch, not so much a big fan of, but I did buy that 4K like special edition that was released that he supervised. So like, I am a big fan of Robert Eggers in general, and I really could not wait to see how he followed up The Lighthouse. And seeing The Northman, I honestly love The Northman a lot. I think it's a great movie, very well directed, very well crafted, and very well acted in general. But I will say, yeah, the story is recycled, because like it's elements I've seen before. But then I realized like the character that like Alexander Skarsgård is playing is kind of based off a real person who the story Hamlet was based off of. So I was like, oh, so this is basically kind of like original. So I will give you a pass then because this is technically like the original story. So blah, 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 blah. There was supposed to be a scene in this movie toward the end when Alexander Skarsgård is fighting in a volcano where like they were both naked, him and the person he was fighting, and it was like you could see their whole body. But then apparently the studio squashed that, and Robert Eggers was like, "That's crazy." That's why when I watched the ending, I'm like, "Why can we barely see anything?" And I'm like, "Oh, I guess because the studio was like, you better cover up Alexander Skarsgård and Clay's bang because we are not showing like full frontal male nudity in this movie." And I was like, hmm, hmm, okay, but didn't we see Anya Taylor-Joy's like vagina like earlier in the movie? I'm just saying, like, like kind of giving off vibes in my opinion. But yeah, The Northman, it's a slow burn, but I thought that the movie really paid off by the end. I loved seeing Bjork. I was like, Bjork, I don't listen to your music really, and I haven't really seen Dance in the Dark, but love you, Bjork. And when Anya Taylor-Joy was giving her whole little like mini monologue to like the nature of it all on the boat toward the end of the movie when you like kind of last see her, that's like one of the last times you see her in the movie. I was like, you're serving, she's serving your honor. And when it comes to Nicole, love Nicole, but I don't know, I didn't think she really had that much to do in this movie until like the very end. So I was like, well, at least Alexander Skarsgård is looking fine, acting like solidly, and Anya Taylor-Joy is serving. So great movie overall. Robert Eggers, hopefully this movie didn't like become a bomb because I know it didn't do well in theaters, but I think it did well when it came to like premium on demand. So hopefully that saved the movie and saved him from like being blackballed because God, I really do not want to see him get blackballed. I think the next movie he's doing is like his Dracula movie, but I hear that girl Lily Rose Depp is the main character actress in the lead, and I'm just like, you need to X her out, baby. You need to X her out. Please. Okay, at number 3 on my list, I have Top Gun Maverick, directed by Joseph Kosinski, starring Tom Cruise, Miles Teller, Jennifer Connelly, John Hamm, Ed Harris, Val Kilmer, and a lot of other people. This movie has a little supporting people popping up throughout, especially the people who play the pilots in the movie. But anyway, Top Gun Maverick. Did I have high hopes for this movie? No, I did not. I did not have high hopes for this movie at all. It had been delayed so long, and I thought to myself, it has to be good if Tom is like really delaying it, but I don't know how good it could be because the first movie wasn't that great. So I was like, not that much high hopes. But you know what? Tom Cruise showed us all. At least he showed me because I was like, whoa, did not see that coming. The movie is excellently made. The craft of it all is astounding. I just love when people use practical effects, and this movie was majority practical. I know there are visual effects done in this movie, but from the behind the scenes of all that I saw, it's mostly practical effects that they use, which is why it just felt more exciting, more exhilarating while watching it. It was very good to watch. It's the craft of the movie itself, because the directing and everything that went into the movie, it just was on full display with this movie. This movie is kind of going up against Avatar, in my opinion, for like the production of the movie in general, because both movies are just so well constructed that the production and all the elements of producing the movie like outshine, like in my opinion, like the acting and the story, in my opinion. But like when it came to the story of this movie, it was once again pretty basic. But you know what? Once again, a story being basic makes it more universal, makes everyone like it and relate to it. So I get why they made it basic. But it worked. It worked in the end of the day, so that's fine. Everyone does a great job in this movie when it comes to performances. Everyone's delivering what they need to deliver. But Tom Cruise, people are like, he could get that Best Actor nomination, and I feel like if he does, it's just because he's in this movie, and because people really like this movie, they're going to nominate Tom along with it. But I don't know. I didn't feel like Tom was doing anything that particularly Oscar worthy. I feel like if he wants an Oscar nomination / Oscar, he should try, not just making an action movie and try actually pushing himself like he used to push himself. Because don't forget, people, he has 3 Oscar nominations already. One for Born on the Fourth, one for Jerry Maguire, and one for Magnolia. And all 4 of those nominations, all 3 of those nominations are all nominations I would have given him the Oscar for. So I'm just saying, he just needs to work with a director who can give him like a good, like real big, meaty role that's in a really small movie or a movie that's more like personal, then it will give him the Oscar. Because I feel like even though the Scientology of it all is there, like people like Tom Cruise enough that they would give him the Oscar. But with this movie, I'm just like, you're giving nice feelings and like all that with your character story arc, but I don't feel like he did anything in particularly that outstanding. Like he did stand out more than the rest of the cast, but like I would say only him and Miles Teller really stood out. I forget the other guy's name. Like the other guy who's like Miles Teller's rival, but like he stood out too, but like not enough because he didn't have enough screen time. What I hate is that conservative people really have claimed Top Gun Maverick as their own, and I'm just like, is it because you guys think this is how like things should be? Like it's just like centered on white man and like military, and like if there are people who are diverse, they're just in the fringe and supporting. Because if so, I don't really like it. I'm just like, can we just let Top Gun Maverick be a nice little movie that's like entertainment and it's just like really well crafted and just leave it at that? Like this movie legit had no political leanings at all, and yet conservatives are like trying to take it over, and I'm just like, please stop. Please stop. Like, leave this movie alone. Alone, please. Okay, at number 2 on my list, I have The Worst Person in the World, directed by Joaquin Trier, starring Renat Rensiv. I don't know. I probably screwed that last name up. And Anders Danielsen Lee. Oh my god. Names that I'm not good at pronouncing. But yeah, I put this movie on my top 10 movies of 2022 list because I was only able to see it in theaters at like the start of 2022. Like I believe it was like in end of January, sometime February, early February. Around that period is when I was able to see it, because I know it like premiered in some places in the US like in December, like late December of 2021 to qualify for the Oscars, but I count this as 2022 because that's when I was able to see it. But yeah, this movie is a movie that I don't know, I haven't seen it's kind of a romantic comedy in a sense. And once again, the romantic comedy genre is dying. And I feel like this movie breathed fresh life into the genre. I found the movie to be very insightful about people in like their mid 20s, because it's like, society really forces us to try to be like, this is what we're going to do for the rest of our lives and blah, blah, blah. But with the main character, it's like she doesn't know what she wants to do with her life. She doesn't really know who she is as a person. And this movie is basically her just like trying to figure that out. And does that make her the worst person in the world, that she does some things that people see as like not good? I don't think so, honey. I don't think so. But, I just think that when you're in your 20s, you should really just be exploring and figuring things out. So I was like, at certain points, I was like, girl, you got to get it together. But then again, that's the whole point of the movie, that she is trying to get it together. She just doesn't know, like, how and what she is going to do to get herself together. This movie had only 2 Oscar nominations. It had Best International Film and Best Original Screenplay. And honestly, I would have given it Best Picture as well. I would have given it Best Actress for Renat, and I would have given it Best Supporting Actor for Anders, because my god, the two of them really, really did the work with this movie. Like, with Renat, is it Renat or Renata? I'm gonna say Renat, but like, she really like held this movie down because she's the main character and she's the one you see the majority of the movie. Like she's like mostly in all the shots of the movie, but I just felt so much from her. Like I never felt like I didn't like her. She, even though she was doing things like breaking up with people and like changing jobs randomly and all that, I was just like, she's a good person. She's just figuring things out, and I relate to that. So, like the things she did in this movie, I laughed, I cried, I felt many emotions. And with Anders, oh, he was good. Like especially when there's a scene in the movie. Once again, spoiler, but this movie is like almost like over a year old at this point, so get over it. But like the scene when him and Renat are fighting because she's like, I want to like end this now. Like those two in that scene were so good, and also the two of them toward the end of the movie when he's dying. Whew, like I was in the Academy Award for both of them, but no nominations for either. Really broke my heart. If you haven't seen this movie, go check it out because it really does deserve to be seen. It's a foreign movie, so it's all in subtitles, but you know what? It's whatever. It's whatever. If it's good, then you guys can sit through subtitles. But yeah, it's on Hulu, so if you don't own the Criterion edition like I do, then go watch it on Hulu because it's free to stream on Hulu. And at number 1 on my list, I would have to say the best movie of the year is Everything Everywhere All at Once, directed by the Daniels, starring Michelle Yeoh, Kiwi Kwan, Stephanie Sue, and Jamie Lee Curtis. Those are the four main principal people. But this movie, I did not know what to expect going into it. I saw like one or two of the trailers and I was like, I really don't know what to expect other than it's a multiverse thing, which is what like people are very into right now. But when I watched it in Seattle in I believe it was either late February or early March, I was just floored because it is an attack on your senses, but I think that people get lost in the whole like craziness of the movie that they don't really see sometimes the personal like story at its core because I believe this movie is a very personal movie. It's very deep, very emotional, and if you're not crying by the third act of this movie, then I don't think you watched the movie properly. That or you don't have feelings. Either one, either one. I just think the movie is just so creative, and I went and saw The Swiss Army Man after watching this movie because that's one of their first movies, I believe. And I watched it and I was like, like it was not as good as I thought it was gonna be. Like when I remember when that initial movie came out, I was like, this doesn't look good. And then watching it now, I was like, it's better than I thought, but still, it's not the best. But watching that movie, I could see some of the themes and how their quirky like writing style and like direction was on display there. So I could see how it clearly translated into this movie. I feel like that movie plus the rest of the movies they directed probably really culminated in this movie. Like sometimes some directors just need some time to like gestate, just however you say the word, like when it comes to like how they write and like how they direct before they can make a really great movie. Like not everyone can just come out the gate swinging, you know. Like sometimes people just need more practice before they can get the right movie, and I feel like this is the right movie from them. This movie has very high Oscar chances. When it came out at the start of this year, people thought it was not really going to get that many Oscar nominations and it would be lucky to even get one, but right now it's looking like a front runner in a lot of categories, and I really do hope it wins Best Picture. Some people are saying that it probably might be the Banshees of Inisherin actually that wins Best Picture, and I'm like, that would be fine too, but I feel like Everything Everywhere All at Once would be a more bold choice. It would be bold, and it makes, you know, they've been on a rampage right now with what makes you feel good. And I'm like, I think that if you're gonna vote for Coda last year instead of Power of the Dog, then you might as well vote for Everything Everywhere All at Once this year instead of something like The Fablemans or Banshees of Inisherin. The Fablemans, people were like, that's the front runner for the longest time. And after I saw that movie, I was like, this is a good movie, but I don't see front runner at all in many of the categories that's going to be up for. So I'm just saying Everything Everywhere All at Once is a very, very well crafted movie, very inventive movie. It's a movie that we have not really seen done like this before, and I just think all the actors in the movie are doing a great job. I mean, Michelle Yeoh is fighting. She's fighting Kate Blanchett right now for that Oscar, and I'm like, girl, just give it to Michelle because Kate will have another chance to get a third, but this is Michelle's chance, and it's a really great performance. So I'm like, give it to her. Kiwi Kwan's already sweeping. He's going to win that Oscar for sure. And I really hope Stephanie Sue gets that Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress because she deserves it way more than Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, come on. I know they're campaigning Jamie because she's the name, but give it to Stephanie because she is doing the work. I mean, that scene with Michelle and Stephanie at the end of the movie at the car, it like had me in tears, and I was already in tears because of the whole Wayman moment like before. So it's like this movie gives you goops and gags and makes you feel, so how could you not love it? How could you not love it? The discourse around this movie has been gross, ugly, and only building steam, so I don't know if that's going to stop it from winning Best Picture, but you know what, I'm not going to engage with that because I'm like, some people who think themselves as like critics or like I love to give film criticisms are just people being annoying, and a lot of their criticism isn't really valid. So I'm just like, girl, if you're going to criticize something, you better criticize it with valid points, because if you're just saying junk, then you just look stupid. But anyways, those are the top 10 movies that I think are the best of 2022. Hopefully a lot of you guys agree with me, but if not, that's fine too. But you know, thank you for coming to my video and watching it, and tell me down below in the comments what you guys think of the top 10 movies of this year. I know there were a lot of like other movies that came out, and I listed some that I really liked, but these 10 movies really just sparked a fire in me and made me feel something. And nowadays when it comes to movies, I just feel like that's becoming less and less the case, as like, you know, people are just trying to get franchises off the ground and give you blockbusters, and it's all becoming more meaningless, and it's harder for smaller movies to get funded. So that's why I'm like, these movies, they varied from being like very well budgeted to being not that well budgeted, and they all were able to elicit very strong reactions from me, not only emotionally, but when it came to like observing the craft of the movie itself. But anyway, you guys, thank you for coming to my channel and watching this whole video. And yeah, I'll see you guys around in the next one if you're here for that. So until then, I'm gonna go now. So yes. Okay. Bye.